What's up, y'all? I am Raffinée, and welcome to another edition of Too Busy, Too Busy, Too Busy Tuesday. Hey, too busy, too busy, too busy Tuesday. Hey, I'm so excited that you've decided to tune in, whether you're watching or whether you're listening to the podcast. Now, for those of you that may be first time to Too Busy, welcome. So glad to have you. Those of you that are veterans and returning, so glad to have you back. Now, I've got to tell y'all what Too Busy is. So, this is my series where I share something I no longer have time or energy for. So, when I've decided, you know what, I don't have time or energy for this thing, to that I say, too busy. Now, the beautiful thing about this and the disclaimer that I like to give is that just because I'm too busy for something does not mean that you also have to be too busy. So, the great thing is you get to pick and you get to decide and choose. So there may be some things that I share that you're like, Raffinée, I'm actually not too busy for that. I have time and energy. And I'm like, hey, go for it. There may be some things I share that you're like, I have had time and energy for that. And I think I don't want to have time and energy for that anymore. And that's fine as well. Or you may find yourself somewhere in the middle of those two things. This is not a mandate or like you have to be too busy for the things that I'm too busy for. I'm just really looking forward to sharing some of the things that I've learned along my journey. Now, another disclaimer that I like to give is that some of the things that I share are things that are more hard and fast and that I am a stickler about. Some of the things are things that are still in progress for me. And so I do not profess to be perfect at any level. And so some of the things that I'll share, I will tell y'all like, I'm still working on this one. Sometimes there's a struggle, or I find myself like feeling the tension of going back to being available for this at times. And that's okay if you find yourself there too. Now, last week, if you joined us, I had said, I'm going to have guests the rest of this month. So make sure y'all come back. And so you may be like, well, Raffinée, where's your guest? So my guest got sick and is not able to join tonight. So I'm just going to share briefly for about 10 minutes. And me and my guests are working to reschedule that. So next Tuesday, there will be a guest on, as far as I know, and we are scheduled to go. So please be sure that you're tuning in, whether that's on YouTube, whether that's on Facebook, or you're listening to the podcast. Now, y'all, I had a seminar this past Sunday, and the seminar was called Back in My Day, Why Your Teen Isn't Hearing You. And one of the things that I find that, you know what, I'm too busy for this and I need to continue to be too busy for this because I sometimes slip back into this, is saying those old phrases. So back in my day is one of those old phrases that sometimes I hear people say, particularly adults to teenagers or younger kids. And when it comes to using old phrases and sayings, I've decided to that I say, too busy. And here's why, y'all. So a couple of months ago, I went to this event, and the event had a youth panel one of the days that we were there. And so we got a chance to ask some questions. So, of course, y'all know me in the audience, like hand immediately up. I got a question. So, my question to the teen panel was, what is something that you wish adults knew or understood about being a teenager in 2022? Now, one of the young ladies that was on the panel said this thing that really kind of sparked me even having this seminar last Sunday. And what she said was, I wish adults realized that it's not their day anymore. So often adults are saying, well, back in my day and back in my day. And I want adults to know it's not your day anymore. It's my day. And I was like, yes, little ma'am, come on. I did say yes, little ma'am. Y'all, but it was so good because, yes, if you're an adult, yes, you've been a teenager. Yes, you have attended middle school. Yes, you have attended high school, likely. The reality, though, is that you have not been a middle schooler in 2022, living in the midst of a pandemic and living in this world of like social media and just the internet and cell phones and all the things at our fingertips. And I felt so challenged in that moment to think about, what are some of the sayings that maybe I heard growing up, or that I heard my grandparents say when I was younger, or that maybe I've heard my mom or other adults in my life say their parents said to them that don't fit, that don't work. They're not actually serving a purpose. And I came up with a few. So back in my day is one of them. Another one was because I said so. So like maybe the kid is like, why I gotta do that? And the response is because I said so. Another one that this one y'all gets me going, but I'm not gonna get on a soapbox. But this one gets me going. Do as I say and not as I do. Oh my gosh. Every time I hear it, I'm just like, it is the most contradictory phrase that we could say. Because if we are wanting our teens and the youth in our life to model us, if we are the example, they are looking to us for things to do, things not to do, things to consider, for principles and values. What good is it to say, do what I say, but don't do the stuff that I'm doing? It blows my mind, y'all. When I hear that phrase, I'm just like, ugh, cringe inside. And so here's the thing. I've got little people in my life that mean so, so much to me. And I really want to create space where they feel comfortable and open enough to come talk to me about whatever. And I believe that those old sayings and phrases can serve as a barrier. They can widen the gap that exists between us and the teen and the youth in our life because it doesn't consider what they're experiencing. When I say back in my day, dude, back in my day, I should have brought the picture to show y'all. Back in my day, I had a desktop Hewlett Packard PC that was like so exciting. It did not have flash drives, or we didn't even know what a flash drive was back then. That thing took CD-ROMs. It wasn't taking floppy disks, but I do know about floppy disks. My first cell phone was a Nokia phone, the one where you change out the covers. Y'all remember that? I gotta see if I have the picture here so that I can show y'all, because it is so real. Like back in my day, things were so very different. And so it's not helpful for us to be saying things like back in my day. Like it's just different. And that's fine. And things don't have to be the same as what they were back in our day. It's an opportunity where we can really increase our curiosity about the teens in our lives and find out, what is it like to be living in your day? Well, y'all, it's not gonna let me share the picture because it's not the kind of file I need. Maybe I'll drop it in the description with the video. But here's the thing. Stop saying that. That's what this boils down to. Stop saying things like back in my day and don't ask me why and do as I say is not and not as I do and because I said so. Here's what I know to be true about teenagers, because I work a lot with teens. Most kids, when they're asking questions about why, is not because they're trying to be disrespectful. Now you may be out there and like, no, Raffinée, my kid is flat out disrespectful. And I'm not gonna argue with you about that, okay? What I will say though is that I believe most kids are curious. And it makes sense though. That's the world we're living in, where there's so many questions. There's not just this blind following of what other people are saying or doing oftentimes, because we got things like this. We got cell phones. We can look up stuff literally at your fingertips and find out, like, is what they're saying true? And honestly, y'all, kids are only going to do things because you said so for so long. Like at some point, you're not going to be the loudest voice in their ear as a parent, as a mentor, as an auntie, as a grandparent, even. At some point, you're not going to be that loudest voice anymore. And so it is so important that we have instilled values and principles and understanding, and not just throwing out phrases like, just do this because I said so, or do what I tell you to do, but don't do the things you see me doing. Like, these kids in 2022, they don't want to hear that. They're not listening to that. They like, they're saying, too busy. That's what they're saying to us. When we say things like that to them, they like, too busy. And they sometimes will sneak and do things behind your back or lie about things. And it doesn't create that like open communication that I think oftentimes the adults in their lives are seeking to have with them. So if you're like me and you have said any of these phrases, here's the thing, y'all. I'm not perfect. I have done this. I have vivid memories of saying to some of the young people in my life, like, oh, I've been in high school. I've been a middle schooler. I know what it's like. And I cringe a little bit to think now that I have said that because it's so dismissive. And I don't want to be dismissive of their experience. I want to be understanding. I want to be curious. I want to learn more about their experiences. I want them to feel the freedom to talk to me about their experiences and not feel as if, like, oh, if I share this, there's going to be judgment or it's going to be blown off like, you don't know. So that's my encouragement for you. Now, I want to hear from y'all. So you can drop in the chat. Tell me, what are some of the phrases that you heard when you were growing up? Things that maybe your parents or your grandparents said to you. And if you have said some of these phrases, listen, there's not judgment. I'm not putting any pressure on you because I've been guilty as well. So I'm being kind and I'm not judging myself. And I'm going to encourage you to do the same. If you're committed to attempting to make some changes, to reframe some of these things, to not just say the things that your parents or grandparents said to you just because, but to like slow down some of that process and really think about what you're saying. If you're committed to that, I would love to hear from you in the chat. You can drop a me, say, yeah, I'm in, I'm committed, whatever feels good for you. Okay. And then I hope y'all will join me next Tuesday for another Too Busy with my special guest. Y'all, we're going to be talking about burnout and self-care and the importance of it. So I hope that you will join us and not miss it. It's going to be a powerful discussion. Like, we had a prep chat last week, and I'm super excited about it. So I hope that you will join me. Again, I'm Raffinée. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for watching wherever you're tuning in. And I hope to see you next week for another Too Busy, Too Busy, Too Busy Tuesday.